We are devoted to Dad as we take a look at issues surrounding fatherhood leading up to Father's Day this Sunday. A huge issue for millions of men is the time they have with their children. 29% of divorced fathers see their children less than 4 times per month. Roughly the same number have zero contact with their children. Anger and domestic violence issues rightly restrict interaction between the members of many families. But attorney Michelle Trigger is here with me live now to explain some of the bias that she feels fathers face in court, even when they are eager to be custodial parents after divorce and when there are no safety issues that could keep them from it. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This is 2022, and yet you feel as if fathers today are up against some very archaic ideas that seem baked into our legal system that on the surface sound great for kids who are dealing with the fracture of their home base, but may be reinforcing stereotypes and not at the merits of each situation individually are being looked at. And I'm talking about a judge or a social worker's desire to maintain stability for the kids and the bonding that's been created perhaps with mom. You feel like those are kind of code words for concepts that can play against Dad.
That's exactly correct. The law presumes that parents should be equal. So following divorce, what the law says is mom and dad should continue to be equal partners, even if they're separated. Unfortunately, that same law also says that we should maintain stability and consistency, and that we should strive to keep as much the same as possible for a child following divorce. And so often what judges do, and social workers, as you mentioned, or mediators or other players in our system, is they take those words, they apply them to the moms and dads just end up losing. So for example, if dad is generally going to work and making the money, mom is staying home with the children as the primary caretaker, the stability or the consistency becomes, well, then they should continue staying with mom the primary amount of time.
Okay, I see. And then to point out another one of those words that people may hear in their proceedings, availability. We're talking about schedule-wise for kids is another one of those concepts that may get tossed around in divorce or custody proceedings and might be used against dad. We all know that in two-parent households, there may be a nanny or a network of babysitters or after-school programs that provide care for kids so parents can work, but that's kind of frowned upon when you're looking at a custody situation.
Yes. So generally speaking, judges prefer to have a child with their parent as opposed to a nanny, a babysitter, or another type of care provider. Unfortunately, again, if you have a traditional household where dad may be going to work and mom is staying at home, mom is now going to have more of the availability post-divorce. And as opposed to ordering mom to work more or dad to work less, often what happens is they're just looking at the status quo and saying, well, mom has more availability, dad does not. And so again, dad ends up losing in a situation where he should not be, that he should either be bringing in a support system or there should be other mechanisms to assist him as opposed to just saying he's not available and mom is.
All right, now you felt some of these issues were so very disturbing that you started teaching a course at Sacramento's Center for Fathers and Families to help men learn what their rights are, to give them a little bit of support. Why did you think that this needed to be just a class, and then kind of what sort of response have you been getting to it?
So we do this class, it's called Daddy's Here at the Centers for Fathers and Families, and much like the name suggests, it's primarily for fathers. And I thought that was a very important thing to do, and so did the Center for Fathers and Families, because there was a gap. There was Weave, for example, that was primarily catered to women. There was a huge support system that I saw for women, which was fantastic, but there's just not a lot of support for men for family court purposes. And so during this class, we assist with paperwork. We assist them with overcoming that bias. So for example, knowing that there's going to be a focus on stability and availability, we help them to manipulate their schedules or to make adjustments in their lives to make sure they're able to address those things, and also give them the family code sections and the cases that are most likely to assist them when they're navigating that system.
And because it's such an emotional process, people are just devastated when their families are dissolving. That's nobody's goal. It's not what they were starting out, to do when they got married and had children. So this really kind of gives them that backup and lets them know that there are things that they can do, that somebody's in their corner, and that they can stand up in the ways that they want to be there for their kids.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I tell most of the people that come to my class, I was fortunate enough that my household stayed intact, but my mom and dad were very different. And had there been a dissolution, I'm not sure that I would be as close to my father as I was, because traditionally men tend to be a little more of the disciplinarian, or they tend to be a little bit more of the tough love. And we look back on that as being endearing, but a divorced household, that becomes an issue in family court, and it becomes the foundation for which the parent and child relationship becomes compromised. And we're already putting children through a very horrific situation, and we need more support, not less. We need to keep those bonds intact. And I just found that it doesn't appear that the maternal and child bond is compromised very often, but that paternal, that dad-child bond is usually what's being compromised. And so I really wanted to do anything I could to help with that, because you're right. I mean, it's about making sure that the kids suffer the least post-divorce.
Alrighty, thank you so much for coming in to share about this program. We appreciate you.
Thank you.